Johnny here for Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. I'm super excited today to be presenting to you the Mustang Mach 1. Now, the Mustang Mach 1 started in 1969, and in 1969 they sold 78,500 and about 84. So they sold a ton of these, but this Mustang Mach 1 is back, baby, and it is super rare. You know, when we look at the numbers, there's about 300 dealers in Canada, and most dealers will not be getting one. And I don't know of any dealers that are going to be getting more than one. So this is going to be super rare. There's not going to be a ton of them like there was in 1969, but it's back, baby, and it is more glorious than ever. This isn't just a one-trick pony. You know, some people are thinking, when they look over the numbers real quick, they say, hey, you know, it's a GT with 20 extra horsepower, and that's its only trick. No, this has so many tricks up its sleeve that you're gonna watch this video and you're gonna be really impressed by this Mustang Mach 1 GT. It's all new. There's a ton of great parts on this. It is so much more than a Mustang GT Performance Pack 1 or 2. It's not just a simple replacement for the Performance Pack 2, which is no longer available for 2021. It is so much more, and it's so much cooler. And let's put the pedal to the metal, jump right in and get all the details for you. So as promised, this isn't just your one-trick pony, and this Mustang is a whole lot cooler. Let me tell you about that. It's cooler because it's got an engine oil cooler. It's also cooler because it has a transmission cooler, and most importantly, I think, and a wonderful correction on Ford's part, it has a differential cooler, because it was being reported that the Performance Pack 1 and 2 Mustang GT on hard tracking could have the rear diff heat up, and that would cause you to have to pull over, pit, and let everything cool down. Now this has a coolant, a cooler for that rear diff, so you can keep on lapping. You know, Road and Track did some lapping with the vehicle, and they said they did over 2 hours of lapping without pulling over, and that rear diff never heated up. So that's great news for anyone that wants a Mustang and are serious about doing some tracking. And the car isn't just cooler for that, there's more. And also helping to keep the engine cooler are two really neat things. The radiator's bigger, which is typical of any race vehicle. You get a bigger radiator. But what I'm really impressed by is the underneath of this vehicle, the paneling is actually created to redirect air to both the brakes and the engine. And that's pretty cool, especially not just for, you know, people who are going to be hitting the track, but for anyone driving relatively hard on a really hot day. Now, speaking of redirecting air, they fabricated this vehicle. I'll show you right here. You've got the front lip. Now, the front lip has a little fling towards the side of the vehicle. That's for redirecting front air all the way down the side of the vehicle. And what's more, you know, often throughout the long history that the Mustang's been around for, you have fake panels. Now, there's nothing fake about the Mustang Mach 1. It is the real deal. It is very cool. And the air intakes here on the side are actually functional. They actually serve a purpose. They're for cooling down the vehicle. And what's more, if you are going to track this vehicle, here's an idea. These panels here, looks like they're for fog lights. You know, we recall back to the 2000s when Mustang GTs had big round fog lights in the front. That has nothing to do with lighting. This is all about paneling. These panels come off, and when the panels are off, your radiator is going to get more air and help the vehicle not get warmer. Now, logically, Ford closed these off when you receive the car, and I'm gonna assume that that's to create a better aerodynamics. And you know, a lot of people have been talking about the missing Mach 1 hood shaker, the air intake off the hood that Mustang Mach 1s have traditionally have had. Now, Ford is saying that this is the most track-capable Mustang GT ever built. And I'm gonna go on a limb here and assume that, you know, the logical answer to why they didn't throw on the shaker hood is for better aerodynamics. Let's cover more of how this isn't just a Mustang GT with different mags, a few little parts like bigger sway bars, and then charging a fortune more for it. So what I'm really trying to point out here is this isn't just, a fancy performance pack one costing you so much more money. This is the real deal. This is worth the money. So, obviously what your eye is gonna pick up and cling to are the things that might lead you to believe that this, one or two trick pony, and it just has, the 20 extra horsepower, so 480 horsepower under the hood. That's 20 ponies more than your Mustang GT. And obviously, the beautiful Mach 1 striping really catches the eye. And I think this is why some people are thinking this is just an overpriced GT. But it's really not. We mentioned already about how we've got the parts to this vehicle, making it, cooler. Now let's go down to the whole front grille. It does have a distinct look. It doesn't look like a GT, and it doesn't look like a GT350. You've got, your whole front end, the pony. This is the only front logo pony that has this kind of slightly metallic, flat gray, or semi-gloss, you could say, pony. And that theme continues on with the sticker and the side mirrors. So that's giving you some great look. This looks in real life a lot better than what I was originally thinking it would be from the photos. Now, the bottom lip here, we haven't installed yet the front complete bottom lip. Because first of all, a lot of the videos you're gonna be seeing on the Mustang Mach 1 has just this lip. You get an extra lip if you do get the handling package. And I think it is really worth getting the handling package. If you're gonna get a Mustang Mach 1, absolutely get that handling package, because this is what's really gonna make your Mustang more trackable. First of all, you're gonna get track tires. You're gonna get mags that are unbelievably impressive, and I'll get to that in just a moment. And you're also gonna be getting a front lip that you can add on to this already big wide lip. That's a lot bigger than a Mustang GT. But you're gonna get your extra lip that you can install, and you're also gonna get an extra wing. And what's incredible is with those two parts installed on the vehicle's gonna get an extra 150 pounds of downforce more than a Mustang GT, making this extremely track capable. Now, I'm gonna show you and take a little break to a quick video to show you why Ford does not deliver these things with the lip already installed, and why a lot of the videos you're seeing does not have the extra lip installed. And I'm also gonna show you why Ford has to have this delivered with spacers on the vehicle. So the suspension has blocks when delivered, just so we can get the thing off of transport. So let's cut to that clip right now. So here you have it. Not all the bells and whistles can be installed onto the Mustang Mach 1 because the front lip would just plain and simple rip off when coming off of transport. Now, this thing has a suspension that is retuned. Its electric power steering is also retuned, so it's different than the Mustang GTs, and it has a stiffer intermediate shaft in the steering column. So, it's very different from a Mustang GT. So let's talk about how this Mach 1 has a lot of similarities with the GT350. And I think that's pretty darn cool, because now what Ford's offering is the GT500, and there's now a huge price gap between a GT and a GT500. This vehicle fills that gap and is giving you a lot of the parts from the GT350. So let's go through that right now. And also I'm gonna cover why I think the handling pack for this vehicle is an absolute must. It all starts with tires and mags. So talking about tires and mags, if you do not get your Mach 1 with the handling pack, your rear tires are gonna be 275. They're gonna last you a whole lot longer, but if you get the handling pack, you're gonna get these Michelin tires. They're 315 wide in the back. So you go from having a vehicle, your regular GT or your Mach 1 without handling package has 9.5-inch mags in the front and 10-inch mags in the back. And if you get the handling pack, you're getting mags that are 1 inch wider, but they weigh 2 pounds less because these mags are cast aluminum. That is, you know, some pretty fancy race gear because they weigh 2 pounds less per mag, and less rotational weight makes a nice difference. And, you know, cast aluminum is not cheap, so they've really, you know, decked this out. The handling package, price-wise, I think is a really great option. Now, in regards to handling, like a GT350, this is getting larger sway bars for it. So that's gonna help you out on those track days. And it's also getting the suspension from the GT350, and that's the Magna Ride suspension. And that Magna Ride suspension is pretty impressive because multiple times per second, it can modify your dampening rates, your compression and rebound rates. And what this does is it makes it so that the vehicle is very adaptable. This thing is great on the racetrack, but it's also very good on the streets too. It's not uncomfortable to drive. And you know, on the streets, the drive is gonna be similar to driving a GT, but on the track, you're gonna get a whole lot more out of the suspension than a GT because of the Magna Ride suspension and how it can modify itself multiple times per second, giving you what you need when you need it. So Ford didn't just add wider tires and some stripes and 20 horsepower and call it a day. Ford, you know, in throwing on the cast aluminum wheels, are offering you a lighter wheel, even though it's an inch wider than your standard GT mags. Your standard Performance Pack 1 mags. So they're wider, they weigh 2 pounds less, but they also offer more structural strength. And that's gonna be important when you're doing some extremely hard cornering on track days. And speaking of track days, you know, something that's pretty cool is the top strut mounts are adjustable, which means you can make your handling better or worse, depending on your know-how and how you adjust those struts, but they're adjustable and you can, you know, make them and get them just the right way you want. You can play, you know, crew chief and play around with your suspension. And, you know, those are some pretty cool race parts. So, you know, Ford really didn't just throw on the stripes, throw on the wider tires and say, hey, here you go, pay a lot more money than your regular GT, and we're just giving you stuff that counts for appearance. This is the real deal. So, like I mentioned earlier, back the vehicle here, we don't have the added wing that bolts right in. We got little bolts here. I'll show you some close-up photos later on, but the extra wing bolts right on there. Ford delivers these vehicles with all these parts in the vehicle, and that front lip also isn't installed because it wouldn't have gotten off of the transport. You know, this thing is low enough that Ford actually has to deliver these with blocks on the suspension. But part of what makes the Mustang Mach 1 really incredible in your hands, it feels so amazing, is the 6-speed transmission. And it's not the 6-speed transmission from the Mustang GT, it's the 6-speed transmission from the Mustang GT350, the Shelby. That's right, and there is a huge difference. You know, I had a 2015 GT, I just finished driving a 2021 Mustang GT Performance Pack 1, and this transmission feels so much different and it behaves differently as well. So the shifter, first of all, when you're going through the gears, you can really feel it. It's got like a really firm, hard, mechanical feel to it. I just love how it moves in between the gears. You know, it does have rev matching, like all manual Mustangs. Rev matching is that when you clutch in and you're, let's say, doing a double down shift, you're going from 6th into 4th because you want to pass someone. You don't need to touch the gas and try to match everything up nicely. The vehicle's going to rev match for you. It's going to give that little push of extra gas to the engine so that when you do get into 4th, you're not going to get shaken all up. It's just going to go in smoothly and you're going to pass that car. Now, what's really cool about the Shelby's transmission is that you can actually shift and leave your foot on the gas the entire time. So for anyone who is obsessed with, you know, microseconds, or if you're just a slow shifter like me and it's taking you almost a while to shift, it feels like an eternity, well, at least now this can help you shift faster and you're not going to lose speed because you can just get directly into those gears as you upshift while having your foot on the pedal to the metal the whole time. And that's really cool. You're not going to do any damage to your motor doing this. You're not going to do any damage to your transmission. It's there for that. You know, I promise that this thing, it was different, that it's race inspired, and it's not just an expensive GT. You know, how many times since the 1960s models have we seen Mustangs that have fake air vents? You know, I mentioned it at the beginning of the video, but those air vents in the front, in the bottom corners, actually go to coolers. The coolers are taking that air, using the air. This isn't just a show pony. This is a race pony. This is the real deal. So the Mustang Shelby has the Tremec 3160 6-speed from the GT350, and now it has the rear air splitter from the GT500. This thing looks amazing. Rear air splitters have been going on since the 60s, the 1964 that you'll see pop up in the video if you look closely. The back has some air fins. So this is the rear air diffuser or splitter, if you want to call it, from the GT350, and you have these amazing 4.5-inch tips. They look amazing. And speaking of exhaust tips, this thing's exhaust is amazing. You can modify it. I'll do a little inside tour of the vehicle, either in this video or an upcoming video, depending on the length. I don't want to make this too long for one video, but I'll do an interior review of this vehicle, and basically the exhaust, you can have it in silence mode because, you know, you like your neighbors, or you can go into full race mode. It basically almost opens up the entire exhaust. It almost makes it a straight pipe vehicle, and boy does it ever get loud, but it still sounds great. It's just the perfect mix of opening up an exhaust just to the point before it sounds too ear popping. I don't know how to describe it, but it's loud. It lets everyone know that your car is in charge without being annoying. Now you could get your Mustang Mach 1 with a 10-speed automatic, but you know what? That would cost you more. You couldn't get it on the Bullet because the Bullet's gone. We don't have that model anymore. This is more than a replacement, and you could get it with a 10-speed, but then that would make this just a little bit more like a Mustang GT. And that 10-speed transmission, making this a little more GT-like, is going to cost you $1,595. So I'd say if you're going to get a Mach 1, learn to drive manual. It's an important skill. It's like riding a bike or swimming. If you don't know how to swim or you don't know how to ride a bike, it's time to learn. So these are the Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires. They do not have very much tread. They're all about sticking to the ground, not about lasting very long. You probably have to change these, I'd say probably, depending how you drive. Even if you're careful, you're probably going to be changing them every 10,000 miles or maybe even a little less. So that's something to consider about the handling pack, but the handling pack is so cool. You know, Mach 1s are, handling pack Mach 1s I should say, are getting these 15-inch rotors and the Brembo brakes. The Brembo brakes are like the ones that we've seen on the GT350 Shelby, which is sadly no longer being produced because now they're producing GT500s. And they're a pretty penny more than the previous GT350s. You know, we talked about these mags. You know what's really cool? The Mach 1 mags match. This is, you know, a low gloss or almost flat gray. It matches the sticker on the hood. It matches the mirrors up here. And, you know, most Mustang, all the other Mustangs, if you look at the GTs, the bottom of the vehicle, the lips you could say, are flat black. These are very low gloss, metallic, dark gray. Everything in this vehicle fits together, and if you really want the vehicle to fit together and have great resale value, if you're thinking about selling this, you know, 20, 30, 40 years down the road, I'm going to recommend this color. Now, this color may be new, and you may have your doubts, and I certainly did until I saw it live. In real life, this color is amazing. It's the one that's being, you know, pushed and shown by all the journalists, and it's only available on the Mustang Mach 1. So it's exclusive, and it's gonna add exclusivity and rarity to your Mach 1. So if you can get your hands on one of these, jump on it, it's gonna be a good investment. So under the hood, you pop it open right now and it makes you think GT350. You've got the air filter from the GT350. You have the huge sway bar from the GT350. Now the Mach 1, all the sway bars have been widened. They're much wider to give more stability or less roll, we could say, or should say. And you know, the strut tower braces, they're adjustable. So, you know, you're going to be able to adjust it just to your liking. If you're a serious tracker, you're going to love this. And if you're just driving on the street and never bringing this on a track, well, you probably shouldn't play around with it because you might actually make the handling a little worse. So it's there. If you know what you're doing, you can get squeeze a little bit of extra handling to get it just right for your track. This is just one of many examples of how this is not your one-trick pony. And we've got something really unique and special on our hands, and that if you have a chance to get one of these, get one now. This isn't, this isn't like in 1969 where they made slightly over 78,000 models of these. These are going to be very rare. You're not going to see all that many on the road, and they are going to not just hold their value, I'm convinced they're going to gain value. So like the GT350, at first glance, you're going to think, oh, it's just the air filter from GT350. I can throw that on to a GT for not much money. It's going to cost me about $400 US. No, it also has the manifold intake. So the manifold intake, which if you were to throw that on a GT would cost about $1,100 US plus shipping. This is the GT350's manifold intake. So, this thing's pretty special, pretty darn cool. It is so much more than 20 horsepower. So if you want your Mustang Mach 1 to be as collectible as possible, make sure you get the handling pack, because you're gonna get the 10.5-inch front and 11-inch rear cast aluminum wheels. It's gonna, for collectability's sake, get the handling pack. It's not that much more. You're gonna have a really cool, reliable, cheap to maintain, and fast track car. And if that's what you're looking for, this is the right car for you. I just loved reviewing this thing, from its Tremec tranny, which just felt so amazing, from the GT500 rear diffuser, the underbody paneling, the beefier sway bars, the air intake and manifold from the GT350. This car was just so cool to have in my hands. I wish it was mine. And if you have the money and you can find one, jump on one right now. This thing is going to be collectible because it's cool, fast, and extremely rare. I promise you this thing will be very rare unless next year they decide to offer a whole lot of them. But this year they are unbelievably rare. Dealers are being refused orders of them. So, stay tuned, because in the next video, we're gonna do an interior review of the Mach 1, and then we're gonna compare this to a Performance Pack 1, and we'll do a test drive of the Performance Pack 1 so that we can really compare the two models for those that do not have money for a Mach 1 or can't get their hands off on a Mach 1, which is very possible. I've got a great option for you, and that'll be to go with the less expensive Performance Pack 1, which in its own rights is an amazing vehicle. But if you do find a Mach 1, I hope you find it with the Recaro seats. I'm gonna be reviewing them, but they feel amazing, and I am really surprised by that. So All in all, I give this car a 9.5 out of 10. I want to say 10 out of 10, but I got to reserve it in case I ever find something I like more. But so far, I love this car. Thank you for watching. If you like videos like this, please like and subscribe and share them with people that you think might like these videos. Thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful, and have a great day. And don't forget, the goal in life, it's all about more cars and more power. And I wish you those two things.